Hey everybody, Navster here. Today I'm going to talk to you about a wonderful experience I had with Leki, the manufacturer of my trekking poles. So a quick little side note before I get started. I'm in a public park in Atlanta, and the difficulties of filming in a public park are kind of interesting. We'll get to see how many helicopters, buses, lawnmowers, dogs, etc. that we hear throughout the video. But now to the point. So I started the PCT this year with a pair of trekking poles that I bought about halfway through the Appalachian Trail. And those poles probably had about 1,100 miles on them when I started the PCT. The poles were, I will call them the Cork-Light DSS model. So they're telescoping like this. They don't fold up like a Z. And they're DSS because they have this little rubber cushion on the end that's kind of in between the basket and where the pole starts, and if you push down on it really hard with all your weight while you're trekking, you see it kind of squeezes a little bit. That's to help with stability and just so that your arms and elbows, I guess, don't get jarred as much. And then also it's cork light because it has the cork handles. So this is what I started the PCT with. At that point, they probably had about 1,100 miles on them, and they were doing fine, no issues with them or anything at that point. Somewhere around mile 230 on the PCT, it was in the Mission Creek area. The end of the trekking pole broke off, so it wasn't just the tip. And so, a lot of times this tip will wear out. You can buy those, at a sporting goods store, REI or something like that. And easily replace them, screw them off, or you need to replace the basket or put a different size basket on. My pole actually broke somewhere inside this DSS component, so either right near the top of it, right near this, this black band right here. So my poles are pretty important. I do use them while hiking on steep terrain, but they're also important because I have a Z-Pax duplex, so they act as my tent poles for my tent. So I couldn't just kind of trash them after they broke. I had to keep them, and I probably kept them for about another, let's say 40 miles or so. So once I got off the Pacific Crest Trail this year, I was going to check with Leki to see where in Atlanta they might have some service centers specifically for their poles with parts and so on. I didn't want to buy another pair, why not repair the ones that I have? So I went to their website. It's an international company. I want to say maybe Swedish, but I'll check on that. And I used their online form to submit a service request. Because they're an international company and just my experience with those kind of online forms, I figured it would take at least a couple days to hear back. But I literally heard back from them within about 2 hours, if that. The person that sent me the email was based in the United States, and their first email didn't answer my question, as in, where's the closest service center? But she asked me a couple questions. What kind of poles were they? And could you send me a couple photos of the poles and the part that's damaged? So I did that. I sent her back an email with 2 photos attached. And literally within a few minutes, it was almost like I was having a real-time conversation with this email support individual. She replied back after getting those photos with a very short, to-the-point email and said, "You got replacement parts on the way." I was completely surprised. I didn't expect the conversation to go that quickly, that smoothly, and she didn't ask for my mailing address, where they were to be shipped, how quickly I needed them or anything. She just said, "Hey, they're on their way. Your parts are coming." So a couple days later, really just a day and a half later, because that was probably around noon that I was emailing with her, and then a day and a half later I get home, and at my front door is a box. I didn't initially even think or imagine that it was a part for my trekking poles. I kind of was excited because I got this unknown package, but I opened the package and there it was, my trekking pole segment. So they sent me the entire bottom section of the trekking pole. I think the hardest part of replacing the part was getting it out of the box, and it was that for that segment of the pole, it was the exact same segment as my other trekking pole. The basket and the tip are a little different. They look to be like the newer model, and I think the newer model this year is no longer called the Cork Light DSS. Has a completely different name, and the DSS is now called AS, I guess, for anti-shock. But the basket and the tip, who cares if they look a little different? I now have two poles that work perfectly fine for my Colorado trail hike that's starting here in July. So one thing I learned from this is, and I'm kind of guessing at this, but I didn't give her my mailing address. She knew my mailing address pretty much immediately. So sometimes I do send in registration cards when I buy new products. I'm assuming I sent in that registration card back in 2018 when I bought these poles. So my email address is the only thing she had as reference, and that must have been what I put on the registration card. So maybe that helped with the turnaround time and the support requests. It definitely helped with the shipping. So a little lesson learned: when you buy products in the future, take the few minutes to fill those out and slip them in the mail. I'm pretty confident it helps out in the long run. So Leki's an awesome company for trekking poles, and I now have my new set of trekking poles ready to go. Thanks everybody, hope this helped. And if you're out there looking for trekking poles, just know that Leki has some great customer service, and I hope to see you out there on the trail. Later.